where to go bird watching in Florida. So Florida's full of, very exotic, very interesting birds, but where do you find them? So it depends on what kind of birds you're looking for, but the main places obviously to look for are the coast, where you'll find coastal birds, and then further inland you'll find more native species of the Everglades and things like that. And then of course the bird species differ drastically depending on if you're in North Florida, South Florida, the Keys, that sort of thing. So starting with coastal birds, the nice thing about them is that they're very, very easy to find as long as you're anywhere along the coast. You could go to just about any beach, any bridge that goes over a body of water of the ocean, and you'll find seagulls, you'll find pelicans, just tons of species of birds. Pelicans are some of my favorites to spot just because they're pretty massive. And then of course you might come across also some egrets or herons, great blue herons especially. You can often find along the coast. And you don't really have to really hunt to find any of those bird species, at least most of them. You could kind of just walk around on the beach and you'll find quite a few different options. There's also many different subspecies and different types, like, many different types of seagulls, for example. Plus at the same time you get to enjoy the beautiful coast and the beaches. Now, going further inland, you will definitely see less of those coastal birds and more of kind of more unique inland species. For example, if you go further inland and you're maybe near some freshwater or brackish water, you might find a spoonbill, which is a very striking pink bird with a kind of bill that's in the shape of a spoon. They're very common in the Everglades and inland areas. And of course you might find more common birds like blue jays and grackles and crows and pigeons and things like that. But you could also find quite a lot of egrets and herons and cranes. So there's a huge variety of different birds that you can find once you start moving inland. You'll also obviously find a difference in the variety of species depending on if you're actually in the Everglades. There's not really too much civilization around, versus if you're in a suburban area or a city, because obviously you're going to find fewer bird species in those areas. And then of course you also have to consider what time of day you're going to search for certain birds, because there are, for example, quite a lot of owls that will be out at night, obviously, or some birds that might be active in the early morning, some in the middle of the day. So you have to kind of research these different bird species and their habitats and when they're active the most, and breeding season. Because Florida is so far south and usually warm most of the time, birds from northern climates usually come down here at some point. So you might see quite a few northern birds down in Florida, usually during the migration season, which, is usually the winter for most birds. But the great thing about Florida is that pretty much no matter where you go, you will find some sort of interesting birds. Especially the further south you go, there's usually even more interesting birds, sometimes even rare birds, so you just have to kind of keep an eye out for those. Some of my favorite birds to spot are the wood stork and the sandhill crane. I have not seen sandhill cranes very commonly recently, but I did used to see them when I lived farther south in Florida. And of course you can always use birding apps to communicate with other bird watchers and see kind of if there's any hot spots in your area for finding interesting birds. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you liked it, of course, leave a like and maybe subscribe. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And I make a few videos throughout the week, so don't miss those.